A little nature corn, right? Look at how gorgeous this is. This is flawless. You're gonna hear me talk a lot. We have a lot to talk about. Mm. Don't blink, it's your blink. Welcome to the show. Lee Morphs are having a wonderful day on this gorgeous 24th September 2025. We're still recording. Awesome. Welcome to another taste test. Today we are tasting. My mom brought me Sorely little bite. Never ever had these, but me loving the packaging. What about the package? Now there's a couple of people that thought dirty. Did I mean it dirty? Absolutely. But this is really cool because we're going to work and we're always looking for those little snacks, you know. Plus today we got work and we got a tournament, so there's not going to be a mukbang. So right away we're gonna go in. For some reason I've never heard of these. So either these are kind of new or these are not super popular. But listen, that 20 bag I eat one a day. That's 3 weeks minus 1 day. Well, today is Wednesday, so 3 weeks starting from today, but yet then I get one extra on 1 day. So without further ado, let's try it out. We got hearty cake, muffin, little bites. You know what's insane? They're filled. They're packaged in plastic, and you can still smell. You smell through it, so I'm excited. The smell is just phenomenal. You know what it smells like? It smells like every single. Like you get to remember every single like cheap, right? But in a good way. Every single cheap, you know, it smells like. It smells like exactly like a Twinkie. That's exactly what it smells like. I was looking for a cheap thing with some cream filling, and I just realized that was Twinkie. This is what it looks like. It's a very small muffin, which is, I would call the cupcake without frosting. So this is super cool because the frosting is often what is the most, like, for example, these bad boys I can eat a whole bag. Frosting, I don't know if I could. I have a good tongue. It's in the song. You know the most delicious thing I've ever had? Again, this is what's supposed to be inside. You know the most delicious thing that I ever had? They're quite unique. In a sense where it's really good. It's really nice. Because you do have a muffin. This is a dry muffin, but you do taste a muffin. Which we love, right? Originally speaking, it does taste like a birthday cake. You got a pack with 5 muffins inside it. And they're a small package. However, it's good because, individually speaking, they're delicious. Maybe that means I can't wait to get the other one. But the more I eat it, the more heavy on the taste it is. I couldn't eat more than 2 bags, you know? So it's great. It's great. It doesn't feel like, you know what I'm trying to say also is, it doesn't feel like a snack, you know? It feels like a dessert. And maybe, just maybe, right? This possibly, and this, if that's the case, it would be like such a good idea. These would possibly hit the spot after you work out or after you work. For example, take a protein bar. If you eat those, and don't work out, like, bro, what am I eating? That stuff is disgusting. But if you do, and you do a workout, this is a reward. So maybe if I ate those after work, it would have been better. But hey, we learn and live, and we live and learn. Do we learn to live, or do we live to learn? Oh my God, this is amazing. Anyway, I love you guys. Take it easy. Peace. Don't blink, you should blink. Welcome to our show. Continuing also having a wonderful day on this glorious 24th September 2025. We are going for a small peach and mango brew. So we're going to be opening it. Listen to it. I love that sound. And you even get the cheers. So why are we celebrating? This is merely but a sip of courage. Because we are about to attend possibly our most complex video, our most intriguing video, and possibly the most fulfilling video. So of course I'm gonna give you guys an intro. Don't blink, it's your boy. Hey, you know what? With the glasses that way I look about 0.72%. No. About 0.72 times smarter, which means I'm looking less smart than I'm usually looking, which means that the glasses are kind of costume, but hey, it was a funny joke. This morning we had an appointment with the whatchamacallit, with the so I'm gonna feel bad saying something the same way I'm saying. I had an appointment with the governmental worker who's helping me find information. As I told you, there's two governmental workers. One of them is helping me build a CV, applying to jobs. You know, it's really cool. It's really nice. Oh, I got a text. I think. Good lovely V or T talking to me. That's Robia. Oh, I forgot to answer Timbo. You're a douche, dude. You don't answer people in the texting you. Make you a giant douche. So we had this appointment with this person this morning, and our background is in psychology, right? Which is always something that interests me. So why does it interest me? Well, because you're gonna find a lot of people, and this is kind of dark, right? You're gonna find a lot of people that are interested in psychology when they have problems like in themselves. I went through a traumatic experience. My answer or my traumatic response was to proceed to research what was wrong with me. There had to be something wrong with me. And because I'm so self-conscious and I'm so self-sufficient, I decided to make some research about what's wrong here. Because I made some research about what is wrong here, I'm able to analyze or self-analyze and self-medicate with the problem. For example, the first time we saw each other, she said, when you face a higher dose of ADHD, when ADHD seems very chaotic, which she has a background in psychology, she said, what do you do? And I was able to say, listen, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna make a video, I'm gonna do a video that's crap, so I'm gonna film a video. I don't have those a lot, but I'll film a video where I get to say crazy stuff, and I'll write it in a name that nobody's gonna want to watch, and I'll post it. That way, this energy is gone, right? It's not in the phone, it's not in my brain. It's somewhere on the internet under a name that I don't even know. And most of these videos are private, so if you were looking now to find it, you would. So this morning we talked, right? And because she has this knowledge in psychology, listen, I'm surrounded with people that are smart, right? Am I saying that I'm smarter than most people? No, I'm not saying that. Quite the opposite, to be honest. But you know what would be really nice? Music. That's some music. I feel very chaotic because this morning, again, the conversation, we'll get into why it was so fulfilling. So fulfilling. It was possibly one of the smartest conversations, one of the most fulfilling conversations that I had in a month. Because, and we'll get into it, and it's very weird as the reason as to why. There you go. Okay, so the code is this. Look, the first thing you find is porn. You want to see? No. Oh, of course. And then you can say bro is pretending to watch porn. The question is why? But hey, how cool would that be? Okay, so we're gonna go with I really miss my mistress. We'll go with self-care. No, we'll go with Anthem of the Lonely from Nine Inch Nails, which is really good. So, we're talking to this person, right? And although I'm in a position which is very weird, and we talked about this morning. So the first appointment that we had this morning. Let's go. This song, bro. Again, filming here. here,
Yes.
which is kind of insane. So we're talking, right? And it's kind of nuts because we were talking about the difference between Ink and Steph, and I think it's because she inspired me confidence. She just seemed trustworthy, and she just seemed understanding, right? That I was seeing shrink, which I'm kind of against because that's admitting that I have a problem, and I will drink myself to a stupor before I admit my problem. Now this is not alcohol, so this whole thing didn't make any sense, but didn't it, or did I? Right? I learned today something important. Do you learn to live or survive, or do you live to learn? See, this crazy mind was understood this morning, and this is just enabling the bad behavior. Then maybe not enabling the bad behavior is the problem in itself. Maybe because I'm so afraid of what people's perception, I'm not being myself, because I'm not being myself then. You know? So we start talking, right? And it's amazing. It's such a good conversation, right? And I don't want to be a dick because I love my surroundings, right? At the same time, this is more so Steph's problem. It's not really a vendor's problem, right? It's a problem that I have in my personal life. In my personal life, I have amazing family. I don't have a lot of them. In real life, I have four. But me calling them, me talking to them, is amazing. I can call on them. However, this is quite complex. This is borderline personality disorder, which we're gonna talk about later, right? And it's insanity. And if I feel like I'm talking with this person, my mom, my dad, I want to talk to them because they're gonna be worried. If I talk to my friend, they're gonna be worried. Like, okay, well, I know you're weird because I know you for years. Most of these friends I know for years. Please though, then I'll wait. Then only when it's Saturday is what you make it. And then you realize just how nuts it is, right? So it's also insane because and this self you don't want to trouble them, right? Because you don't want to trouble them. This is gonna be a long video. I'm telling you, this is my most complex video. This is my longest video, so you possibly should watch this. Okay. So we go in and we talk, and when I have these problems that are more Steph, I don't get to talk to as Ink because Ink is a different person character, right? I'm still me, but I don't have the problem that I have in real life. Is Steph broke? And then I believe. Is Ink broke? Ink never learned the value of work and money, so why would he be broke, right? So, going back to it, this morning we were talking, and for some reason, we're delving in deeper. And yet she has a background in psychology. So I felt comfortable talking with this. But at the same time, and again, is you have to be close enough to the person to be honest and open. You have to understand that this person is able to help. My parents, if I tell them, right? For example, my parents, they still don't know that I did that to replace emotional pain with physical pain, right? They just thought, oh, I thought tattoo would look cool. If they knew, they would be worried about me, right? It's been a secret I've been carrying for years. I was able to tell her today, you know? And it was just talking to someone who understood, but not at the point of what you're doing, what you're saying is making sense. Is there's a logic, a weird logic, a mess up logic, but some sort of a logic. And the craziest thing about logic is it doesn't have to be factual. What I mean by that, right, is I can tell you that the sky is green. Like, there's no way, bro. It's never been green. And then I show you a picture and the sky is green. And the picture has been photoshopped, right? So it's green. So you see the sky is green and you just can't accept it, right? Now, photoshopping is mental. Your mental will do gymnastics to Photoshop an ID so it's appeasing and appealing to others, but at the very core, it's not the same ID, principal ID. Photoshop, you take a picture of an apple, right? This apple is old. It's brown spot. It's been dropped a couple of times, right? It's disgusting. And if you look inside, it's all what do you call it? Moldy. Whoa, where have you been? That apartment's a mess. I'm gonna have to clean it today. Again, messy brain, messy apartment. Clean mind, clean home, right? So yeah, so you Photoshop this ID to make it more appealing, but it doesn't change the ID. So you gotta go the crazy route. It's okay, well, how little do I have to Photoshop to give you the good ID? And this morning I felt listened to, but I also felt understood. Now, feeling listened to is one thing. Feeling understood is another different. It's another completely different thing. And it was the factor of the feedback itself. Talk about it. How important was the feedback, right? Um, and I admitted that I was doing videos because I was constantly I wasn't being honest and I wasn't happy being not being honest. So for example, she was like, why are you always last second? Because if you went earlier, you could have finished earlier, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, I function better with pressure. I've always been like that. And she said like, is there a reason? Are you acting like that in your normal life? And then I was like, well, there's this show on Netflix, and this is the brain of V Vendetta. Um, prepared to talk about something, but not prepared. I always go on the surface. I never dive deeper than the surface. I never go in details. And when I'm serious, when I comment somebody, I add a joke because I'm uncomfortable being nice to people. You know, because I feel like I'm kissing ass, and that's not cool. That's not cool, bro. So I kind of lied to her and say, listen, I had this show that I wanted to watch, and I have this show that I want to watch. Like literally, this is exactly what I said. I have a show that I want to watch, and I know that's leaving this day on Netflix. And I'm afraid I'm not gonna have time to watch it, which is something that's going on because yesterday I was super stressed about The Good Place. Yesterday, The Good Place was caca. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the truth, was annoying because it's such a good show, but I remember it to be so much better, and because I remember it to be so much better, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching, right? But at the same time, we watched it today, like, holy crap, this is so good. This is so freaking good. And then these parts I don't remember, right? And I'm like, wow, my brain is forever transformed, which is not true, but still. So I told her, and I'm like, well, I make videos, and it just slipped out, right? Because I was comfortable, and being comfortable is like sipping. I keep referring to alcohol for some reason, I don't know why. Because I feel aloof, maybe because I feel relaxed. Talking about it this morning was a weight off the shoulder, and because it was a weight off the shoulder, you feel like you are lighter. I don't do drugs. The lighter I feel when I'm drunk, so it feels like you're drunk. You're not really drunk. You're just drunk of a feeling. You're high of a feeling. I'm high on love. I'm high on life, right? So I tell her, and we were talking about, and she asked me, how do you separate this? And it's like, how do you separate the two version? Because you're telling me that you're this person, but you're also this person in front of me. Because I told her that I didn't say the name, thank God, because she's gonna check it out. I'm gonna say, oh my God, this guy is insane. Lock your doors. Lock your doors by crucifix. This guy's insane. See, said something serious, had to fix it with somebody that's less funny, right? She's screaming at me or somebody else? Well, so filthy. They say filthy. Rough without you, and you're better off without me. Well, so ugly. I'm better off without me. You're better off without me. The bleeding. Private and Punch, which is again, missing bed. So I said that, right? And she was like, well, are you different because you play a character? Why are you doing this? Because this person, okay, so this is complex. And this is the craziness. This is a huge spoiler for what's coming. I'm gonna get diving deeper after a bit, but for now I'll just lose the control. So I said I do videos. It's like, are you different in the videos? I'm like, well, I used to be different, but since I've been doing it so much lately, I feel like I'm the same person, right? And then she was like, well, I feel like if you're focused on, it's gonna be hard to focus on another course or work. And this is where it gets complex because the work and the focus, the work and the possible schooling. Because like I said, she's more so in guiding me into getting to a school and doing some courses so I can get a better job, right? And she was like, well, if you like doing video that much, why would you go to school? And I'm like, well, and and then it's kind of crazy because I talk a lot. It doesn't happen often that people question what I'm saying. Yeah, so she questioned what I was saying. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't ask myself the question. And then you realize that it's different because Steph cares about school. Steph cares about work. Ink was just to create, right? Just to make content and make content and make content, right? It doesn't matter how much I make or how much I don't make. It matters that I create, and it doesn't matter how good I create. I just create. The feeling or the idea or the concept of creating is as important as the product that's created, right? Again, do you live to learn or you learn to live? It's the same thing. It's the concept which give different results, but it's the same variable. So you go in. And I was like, well, Steph cares, Ink doesn't care. It's like you keep referring to Ink as this other person. What do you feel like is different? And I'm like, it's funny that you say that because, and again, life is insane because about 2-3 weeks ago, right? I had a so she said that too. She said that. So that's fucked up because everything that I'm gonna say, you're gonna think that she said that I'm just repeating, right? I had this identity crisis. Now I didn't call it the identity crisis because I didn't think it was identity crisis. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know where Ink starts and I don't know where Steph begins. I was thinking about legacy last week. Legacy in communication, right? What am I leaving behind? If Ink dies and I stop making videos, what is there left? How did Steph go, right? And she had the identity crisis. I was like, holy shit, it is an identity crisis, right? And then I was like, why? Well, it is. It's problematic, but at the same time, is it? Because Ink is me and I'm Ink. They're the same person. They're just different name. At birth, I was giving the name Stéphane. I could have been giving the name Richard because I'm French, Robert, Antoine, Gilbert, a very French name. I was giving the name that I have, which identify me because this is what I answer to, right? Right? Your noun is more important than your pronouns, but at the same time, it's your identity, right? It's the same thing. So I was like, well, there's a difference, right? And I've been having a lot of problem lately saying, okay, well, because I'm always working. And then this also happened, we talked about this morning. The problem that I have with always working is, technically speaking, right? Am I very different in a real life that in just the concept of a identity crisis or trouble, personality trouble, TPL. I don't know what you call it. I'm gonna check it out. There's a name to that. Trouble, personality, multiple. Dissociative identity disorder. Even if I say it will be alright. She did great. Come on. If I don't make music videos, I'm gonna go crazy, right? Then I did a crisis, and it's kind of crazy because I never thought about myself like that. But then we talked about movies, and it was kind of nuts because she was asking me, well, I don't think I have ADHD. How do you sleep? And I said, well, again, it's a problem because when I do work a lot, I sleep a lot. When I don't work, I also sleep a lot, but it's not that I'm tired. It's just I'm bored. My brain doesn't understand anything else than just sleeping. I'll sleep for 4 hours even if I'm not tired. And she's like, it's very reminiscent with the lack of sleep and the identity problem that you have to a movie called Fight Club. And again, I actually didn't know that I'm a huge fan of Fight Club, a huge fan. And it's crazy because this also makes sense. And now, there's going to be a delusion of grandeur, okay? But again, this is the exercise of talking, having an open conversation. Do I believe what I'm saying? Absolutely. Will I change my mind in 3 weeks? Absolutely. Is it the end all be all of my life? I'm going to end the movie, just like in the movie, with a gun in my mouth and shooting? Probably not. Because the guy didn't have pants and I'm not going out without pants. Let me make that clear. But in that movie, the guy doesn't know who he is. So the main character is called main character, he doesn't have a name. Then he becomes Tyler Durden, which is the better version of himself. And then everybody knows him as Tyler Durden because they're the one and the same person. There's one of them is a normal person, one of them has manic episode caused by hallucination because you don't sleep. So one of the things that you do when you don't sleep is you can have hallucination. Usually it takes 36 hours, 46 hours. But the hallucination, and this is also crazy because this is also related to sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis, you have a hard time sleeping. Your brain is still functioning. My apologies. So because you're not resting your brain starts to hallucinate, and those hallucinations feel real because your body's asleep, but your brain isn't. Which is why you got sleep paralysis, right? And that's one of the craziest thing, right? And so like this is very similar, and just like the main character, there's no story. And I told you guys this story before, so I'm going to do a recap as quick. If you ask me my life before the apartment, very little to know. I'm a very reserved guy that likes to read, that likes movies, that likes music. If you ask me about the apartment, well, I'm still a gamer, but now I get to choose how much I'm gaming. I get to game the whole day, so this is the decay of the gaming and the takeover of the controller, right? The decay of the functionality in the society versus the rise of the king of controllers. And if you look, mangas, I was obsessed with mangas because I didn't have I didn't have not closure, it's boundaries. I didn't have boundaries, so I would hyper focus on things, which is also TDAH, which is in French for ADHD. TDAH, trouble d'apprentissage, hyperactivité. TDAH, trouble. I don't know what the D is actually. I'll never leave. No, I mean those little things. Other than that line. You know, that little dreams. All I could say. That lion and then line you would stay. I am lion and I want to be free. You see a lion when you look inside of me. Which is the song, which is, again, he didn't see me choose it, but he's a guy that feels like there's a beast inside and he wants to be free, but also he's a father. He has to be a father. He has to maintain that normalcy, right? Remember an army of all those little kids. It's insane because this dissociative, I never saw it as something, right? And then you realize that me not knowing is also complex, right? This is also complex because she asked me what got you to making content. Because she said, I don't understand. You said that you're doing this the whole day. Because she did ask me what I do today. Well, I did when I'm not looking for work, when I'm not applying, I'm making videos, right? Which is true. I work 18 hours a week. It's not a job. For me, a job is 40 hours. I'm sorry. Well, it depends. It depends. If you go to school and you have a part-time thing, you know, it's similar. It is similar. But what I was saying is, so I told her about the bully and the fact that I had a shitty life. So I went to club home, and I literally called myself Vendetta for vengeance. Then I met some cool people on the net, and I was like, you know what? They deserve to know the real me, and I don't have to be myself in the workplace. I can be myself on social media, and this is the definition of dissociative disorder. We'll read it together. Because this is just fascinating. I was questioned today. Which never happened. People are allowing me to talk, and at the same time, it's my fault because I turned everything into a joke. And because I turned everything into a joke, people don't worry. But should they be worried? I don't think so. I don't think that she should be worried about me. But yeah, there just needs to be some issues. Dissociative identity disorder. Dissociative identity disorder, previously known as multiple personality disorder, describes the presence of at least two personality states of alter. The diagnosis was extremely controversial during the memory wars and remained undisputed among psychiatrists. TD. This is insane. Now, this is kind of crazy because there's also schizophrenia, but I don't see ink, and I'm not talking to ink, right? So this is kind of cool because that would be another story. However, for content's sakes, two guys, one of them that is not there, would take me to viralness. We're talking about that, right? And I was talking about how horrible I was, and she was like, well, okay, well, you're saying that you changed. Is there some difference between you and ink? And I'm like, and I'm not gonna tell her the truth, which is, I'm not gonna tell her the truth, which means that I don't talk to people. The only person I talk to is Carl, Cal, Benjamin, my parents, Céline, Simon. So I kind of have, and Shao. Of course, Shao. Can I forget Shao? I love you, Shao. I'm sorry, Shao. I got like a handful of people that know me from before I made content, right? And at the same time, this is complex because they know me before I made content, which is 4 years ago. Um, so if you knew me after 2021, you possibly know Ink and not me, which is crazy to think. This sentence is insane, right? And I was talking about how most of the content I have, most of the social activities that I have, are via being a character. Even though the character is myself, it's still considered character because they're still a different name. You won't call a pear an apple, and you won't call an apple a pear, although they're both fruits. Although they're both delightful in a pie. No one else is delightful in a pie? Cream pie. Pun intended. Pun intended. So, we were talking about it, and it was just diving into it, right? And she's like, holy shit. And at the end, I felt bad because I felt like an insane person trying to convince a sane person that somehow it made sense. And so I love this morning. I felt like she understood what I was trying to say. I was talking about how ink is more honest, it's more valuable, it's more able to talk about its feelings, right? And that's the truth. In real life, I'm not the most emotional guy. I want to talk to people about how depressed I am, you know? Even though we're not depressed. Why am I going to depression? Oh, because depression was the last big chunks of emotion that we had. The last overwhelming sense of emotion, tsunami of emotion that we can control. There's two kind of people in their life. There's factual and emotional. I consider myself factual. But then emotions are part of me, and then when they're taking over, I have to acknowledge that also, right? So we're talking. And then at the same time, it's not because we're having such a conversation, it's so nice. And she's like, okay, well, do you find yourself not honest? And I say, yes, I'm honest. I just feel like sometimes if I tell the truth, people are going to think I'm crazy. She told me about the time in your life where the most honest. And because you felt understood and not judged, I told her I was the most honest at 22 years old. I had my depression, I was an asshole, I was manipulative, and I was a liar. Now, let's repeat that. When was the time that you were the most honest about... When was the time that you were the most honest, right? And this is kind of crazy because after that we watched The Good Place. And The Good Place answers so much. No, funny with this question. So today the brain was stimulated. We had multiple braingasm. And I miss those. Fuck a condom, let's go raw. So it's kind of crazy to say that the most honest I was when I was lying manipulative. Because I didn't care about people feeling. I didn't care about... I wasn't feeling well myself. So I was like, okay, well, the narrative is complete shit. Let's control the narrative. Let's push it in a good place. Now, was I hurting people? No. I thought that I was. Did I hurt people? Yes, possibly. Did I do it on purpose? No. I thought that because I was in control of the narrative, I could control the impact the narrative has. I.e., I can make a sad movie and I can make a romance movie. I'll probably do a romance movie because I don't want people to be sad, you know? But if my brain is saying to do a romance movie, they're not honest. And craziest thing is, I was more honest back then. Am I dishonest right now? No, I'm not dishonest. I'm actually really... the difference is insane. If you asked 4 years ago, to be honest, I wouldn't answer. I was so shy, I was so self-conscious that I wouldn't answer. Then nowadays, I don't want to hurt people and I know my word has consequences. So I'm more mindful of my words. And if they're not impulsive, if they're not their first thought, if they're in a thoughtful thought versus a first thought, then you control and you filter your reaction. You know? It's like this episode of Seinfeld, right? And you see the baby. And you see the baby, right? And there's an episode of Seinfeld which is crazy because this show is 30 years old, right? But you see a baby, and that baby is ugly. Ugly, you know the episode I'm talking about. And everybody says, no, the baby is pretty, is gorgeous, don't worry about it. But then, I don't know, I think it's Cosmos that says this baby's ugly. And Cosmos is looked at this, was looked at as an asshole, but he was the only one that was honest enough to say the truth. Huh? Now, this is the truth because now that we watch The Good Place, which is a show completely about moral and the good thing and the wrong thing. is the right thing to lie and hurt people, or the wrong thing is to, or is it the right thing to do than to lie and say spare people's feelings? I don't care if your baby is ugly. It doesn't mean he's gonna be ugly his whole life. My cousin, and again, I'm not the prettiest looking guy. I know I'm ugly, which is good, because my personality shines. Hello. My cousin, she's dating a guy, and this guy, he has a malformation. So he has the side of his eye which is caved in, and except for his face to be round, there's this place where there's like a, not a hole, but there's like a yeah, there's kind of like a hole or like a hill, you know. And then when you look at his son is also like that. So you're like, okay, well, this is possibly hereditary, right? So you feel bad because the kid, you know. But then at the same time, it's here. See, this person has been screaming, and she insulted him all the time, right? And then she's honest. She said, "Are you guys having a party?" And the guy said, "Yes." And you know what he said? You know what she said? "Shut up." That's badass. That's possibly the truth. Is it a asshole behavior? Absolutely. Is that the right thing to do? Possibly. I don't know. I don't know anymore. Questioning yourself is good. If I had a choice between questioning myself and not questioning myself, I wouldn't choose to question myself. So going back to the story, with my cousin, like, nobody's gonna tell him, like, yo, you knew that you had that physical deformity, and then you knew that your kid is gonna, and my cousin, she's pregnant with another kid, and my uncle said in harsh voices, said, this guy is dumb. His first kid has the same deformity as him. Second kid's gonna have a deformity as him. Why bring kids in the world? I'm like, fuck, this is your grandkids. Is he wrong? There's no choice, you know? But I was more honest when I was an asshole. Because now, when I talk to people, I know I'm gonna hurt people's feelings. That's why I often don't say what I'm thinking. I don't wanna. I have this friend, which we used to talk every single day. And this friend did a lot for me. He did a lot for me. Then we don't talk anymore. Because I'm gonna text him, he's not gonna answer. It'll take like a week and a half to answer. And it's okay, he's busy, right? He's working on himself, which is great. Bravo. And I'm like, bro. Like, I also work. I work a normal job, I film, I do some recaps, I work a lot, I stream. And I still trying to find the time to reply to people, right? You can find the time to reply to people, it's normal. But it was nuts, you know? I don't know how to say it.